Okay. So the role of global.asx files. So far we have seen that view state where we can maintain the state of the application, right, on page level. So there are, if we talk about state management in ASP.NET, then we talk about at least three things. One is view state, second is session state, and third is application state. As we know that view state we can enable or disable on the page basis. So, and the session state and application state we will discuss in this video. So the application state and session state, these are maintained in a we can maintain in a file which we call the global.asax file. This is not mandatory file, but this is a very important file which we use into our project. So where we can maintain the different sessions related to the application or session. So the events which we maintain here is the important thing, where we can control our application state or the session state when it starts or when it ends or when it throws the error. So for that, what we need to do, we just right click, and this is a file which we need to add through right click on the project, add new item. And here we need to select global dot if you see global application class, so global.asax is the extension of that file. I say add. So now you can see there are different kind of methods associated with this: application stars, session stars, begin request, authentication request, and so on, related to session end, session, application end. So when our website is when we are accessing the website, so there are two things happen. One is on application level, which is shared by all the sessions. So session is something, for example, I'm the person who is connecting to a website. So there is a separate session for me. And when someone else is connected, so there is a separate session for it. But they all are using one application. So sessions are different for different users, but it is application is commonly shared by all the users. So as soon as the application starts, so application start is the event which is executed as soon as the application is started first time. So this is the code that runs on application start, and this will be executed whenever you start the application. So this is the application startup, and the corresponding event for this is application end. So application end executes when we shut down our application. So code that runs when we shut down the application. And there is one more, which is application error. Entire application level, if you are not handling the error. Say an example, I have page 1 where I am not maintaining try catch. So what will happen, that is that control comes to this particular event. So the code that runs when an unhandled error occurs. So whenever there is an unhandled error, then unhandled error means you are not maintaining on the page level. You are not putting try catch. So then if there is a runtime error occurs, so that runtime error will come to the application error event. Same way, there is a session. So when the session starts, then session means, for example, I am a user and I'm connected to, I logged into your website. So that website, so that application create a separate session for me. So this is the code that runs when a new session is started. So corresponding ending, we have session end. So here, when the session ends, so code that runs when session end. So we have a different types of sessions, uh, which is in process and out process. So this code is only for the, so this code is raised when session state is in proc. So there is a session state which we call the in proc. So that is in process. Okay, so let us see that how the application level data we can store or maintain. So there is a HTTP application state type which helps us to share the global information across multiple user in ASP.NET application. So say an example here, we have application. Now I'm setting up a application variable. So application, and I'm say sale person of the month. So means I can put anything. I'm just putting one variable called sale person of the month, and I can put anyone here and name, say Mark, and if I want to store something else, again application, say current car on sale, say hold, so now I have three application level variable, and these are shared across all the sessions, and this is available during the lifetime of the application. Means when we start our application and when we shut down application, till then these variables are available. Now to see that, let us go to our web form 1 and let me have a label here, and let's call it ID. Let's say the net server, and let me have one more button here. Okay, so on click of this button, I want to execute a method. Okay, so here what I want to write, I want to access these, whatever I'm declaring this in the application start. By default, actually this application level variables, they can take any value. It can take the string, it can take the integer. So because by default the data type is object type, which can store any type of value. So here what I want to do, I will say when I click on this button, I want to say lbl.text equals to, I want to print this value. mark value. But as we know that it is an object type, so we need to cast it. We need to cast it to the string. So I'm casting it. Casting means just converting one data type to another. So that I want to store it into the label. So let us run and see. Okay, so we can see here there is a sale button. So I'm clicking on it. So when I click on it, it takes the variable which is in the application level. So this way we can access the variables from the application level to page level. And it is not necessarily that we can store only the string value. We can store the numeric values as well. So if I go over here and if I say application clicks equals to 0. So I'm storing a numeric value. So as soon as we come over, let me copy this variable. As soon as I come over my ASPX page and I will say that equals to +1. Okay, so I want to increase the value of this application because it is integer. So we need to make it integer. Okay, so I'm saying application clicks equals to clicks +1. So it means I'm modifying this value. So here it was I was reading the value on page level. Now what I want to do, I'm modifying. See here I'm changing the value of clicks equals to clicks +1. And I want to print. You can use response or we can take a variable, one more label. We'll take one more label, Control C, Control Y. So we call it LBL clicks. Okay, so when I click on this button, so it will increase the value by 1 and I will say LBL clicks dot text equals to string application clicks that I want to print here. So let me run it. Okay, so there is a change required here. We need to use convert.toString instead of string method here. So now this is because it converts to numeric. So converting a data type to another means if it is not an object, then we use convert dot. So here we are using convert dot toString to convert these clicks. Now this is my page. Here when I click on it, so it will access my variable. Okay, so because let me restart the application. Okay, so when I click on this, it gives me the value 4 because I restarted multiple times. So I need to shut down. So actually this is the reason application is not shut down and it is running on it is keep running, so application level variables are not abandoned so far. So let me stop and restart completely. So let me close this. So I have closed the application. Now let me rerun it. So when I clicked on this, now it is showing value and 1, right? Because now click is 1. I shut down the application and I'm saying I'm clicking again. So increase the value of the application level variable. So this way we can maintain our application level variables. We can read it and we can write it. And it is not necessarily that we can use the inbuilt data types. We can use the customized data type as well. So customized data type means, for example, I have a class. So let me add a class here. And I'll say that it's a student class. And student class has a public property, public string admission number, and public string name. So these are two properties of the class level. And what I want to do when the application starts, I want to store some value of the student class variable into this. So say an example when the application starts. So that is in our global.asx file. And here what I want to do, I have one variable application. I call it student equals to new student. And let me have a constructor there. Okay, where we can pass string admission number, comma, string name. I'll say admission number equals to admission number and name equals to name. So I'm setting up these two, and when I declare it, I'm saying new student, and I will pass say name admission number, say 101, and the name of the student, say Fanny. Okay, so now I am storing in application level one variable which is of custom data type. Okay, so I will go back to my webform.aspx. So here what I wanted to do, I just want to print the value from the student level. So I'm saying let's create an object of student S1 here equals to new student. Okay, so what I would like to do here, okay, so it is complaining because we have only one constructor. So let me create one more constructor here, okay, which is doing nothing. So here what I need to do, I just want to get the value from the application level. So I will say student S1, or I can put it here as well. I will say student. So I will cast the value and I will say my application. On application level we have a variable this. So this is the student S1. Now let us see that whether it has that value or not. So for that let me have two more labels here, which basically prints the student level information. So I have a BR here, then I have a label, I'll call it LBL admission number, and I will have one more variable which I call LBL name, and I will have a button here which I will call PTN student, and text I will say student details, and on click we will write our on method. So here we will create a method, say, or better we will go on the design and double click. So here, so I'll cut paste this code from there to this side. Now LBL admission number equals to dot text equals to S1 dot admission number, and LBL name dot text equals to S1 dot name. So let us see what will be the result. Let me run it. Okay, so I'm clicking on the student detail button. So when I click it, it gives me the admission number and the name, which is coming from global.asx file, where I have stored student details information into the application student variable. So mean to say you can store any type of value into it, which is here I'm storing the string values. Some of variables I have not used. I can modify the value as we have seen in the example of the click. I was updating the value. Third, I can store any custom type like student is a class, and that information I want to store into the application level. So these all things we can maintain on the application level, and this is called the application state of the any ASP.NET application. So next is our session level. So what is session? So session is created as soon as a user logged in. So there is a HTTP session type. Okay, and this when we are maintaining the session state, so that sessions that session is created per user level. Okay, so let me so there is a session start, which is a event which is called as soon as our session start. Means if a user is logged in, then that session start event get fired. For every login by the user, not only login means accessing the website, then session start is started for the individual. And there is a special type of variable or keyword, not variable, it's a keyword in .NET, ASP.NET, which which is used for the session level variables. So that is the session. So here you can create the session level variables. So for example, if I say session name equals to say Raman. So when the application start, at that time session name equals to Raman. But or this will not be a good example. So what I'm going to do here, as soon as so session level, what I'm doing here on web form 1, I have a button which basically redirects to web form 2, and here I will declare a session variable. I'm saying session user equals to say Raman. Okay, so session user equals to Raman, and now I want to bring this data to my web form 2. So one way we have checked in the cross page posting, where we were going from uh, page 1 to page 2, and from the previous page we were finding the control and accessing the data. And second way we have seen the query string. So third way is this session, where the value is stored on the session level. So here what I'm going to do, response dot write, I want to print session name. So the session name which I have, session user, which I have here, I want to print it here. Okay, so uh, so let's run it. Okay, so this is my form 1. When I click on web form 2 button, So my session information is moved from one page to another. So this way we can maintain the session variables. Again, session variable like application variables. These these are only on the session level. Means, for example, I logged in with my credentials. I used my user ID and password, and somebody else has used user ID and password there. So that's, and if I say session of username equals to text1.text, password equals to text2.text, so that will be checked on the basis of whatever the sessions I have kept it into the session variables. So that varies as the session change. Now there is one more important thing here, that we, by how long that session is available. So that session is in the memory of the web server. So that session is by default available for 20 minutes. So if it is available till 20 minutes, then means what? Means, for example, your website is idle. You are not doing anything, and session user equals to some value. So when the user when the user visit the website again after some time, so that time, how long that session will be alive, that time is 20 minutes. If you are sitting idle for the 20 minutes, the session is automatically get expired. But that value you can change here. So we have a web.config file, which is a configuration file for the application level. Here we have a configuration and system.web section. We can say session state, and there is a property called mode, and mode property is in proc. In proc means that session will be in the memory of the web server, and there is a property called timeout, and if I say 20, so it means for the 20 minutes that session will be available through the application level. So this way we can also maintain the, so in proc means in process, means that is with the web server memory, and timeout means how long it will be uh, available, or it will not washed out from the server for the 20 minutes. Means within 20 minutes, if you are sitting idle and you are not surfing the website, then it will be automatically get expired. So these are the features which we can maintain this for the session level. Also, one more thing, on the page level, if we go to the page, there is enable session state equals to, we can put true, false, and read only. So if we set it false, means I don't want to maintain my sessions on the page level. Mean to say that here I am storing the value session user equals to Raman. So this will not happen. My sessions will not be maintained. So when I go to page 2, it will throw an error. I don't find this. So on page level, if you want to store the session state, then you can use the If you don't want to store, then you can use the enable session state equals to, that is for that page only. But on application level, if you want to store, then we can go to the web config, and instead of mode equals to in process, we'll say off. So when mode is off, it means it will be not retained throughout the page. So this way we maintain the sessions. So in the state management, we are having view state, application state, and the session state.